High stakes, heart-pounding moments, pressure like you wouldn't believe, almost flops, and moments that I will always remember. This is the Nick Solomon Show, the Sports Charter Podcast. Let's get it started.
Spokes to scores! Watford for the win! Yeah! You can't make this stuff up, folks.
God, that all young guys should really take back and look at what this man has done.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 11 of the Nick Solomon Show, the Sports Charter Podcast. And guys, we're just going to start off the show with some breaking news right off the bat here. Sources confirm, or sources have said, that Jim Harbaugh is leaving the University of Michigan to take the head coaching job of the Los Angeles Chargers. So this is just right off the gun. This is breaking news. Literally read this within the last 30 minutes, so it's very fresh in my mind here. But I wanted to bring you guys some breaking news action, and I'm sure we'll get into that and my thoughts on that once I digest this unfortunate news for Michigan on a later podcast date. But guys, I'm excited for today's show. We have I got a great lineup for you to discuss here. And the first thing I just want to talk about right off the bat is this woman has quietly become a national story. And who it is I'm talking about, well, that would be Zheng Qinwen. Now, who is Zheng Qinwen? She's a rising star in tennis. She just won the quarterfinal match in the Australian Open that is currently underway versus Anna Kalinska. And she's advancing to the semifinal versus Diana Yastremska. I hope I pronounced that accurately. But why am I bringing this up? Well, guys, Zheng Qinwen is just the fourth Chinese woman to reach the semifinal. I'm going to repeat that again. She is just the fourth Chinese woman to reach the semifinal. She joins the likes of Zhang Qi, Li Na, and Peng Shuai. She's only 21 years old, and Li is the only one who has won a major. Is the only Asian who has won a major, and she did so, I believe, at the 2011 French Open and the 2014 Australian Open. And this is very much noteworthy because prior to this year, Qinwen honestly has only made one other quarterfinal, and that was in last year's U.S. Open. So props to her. And just for context purposes, on the other side of the bracket, in the other semifinal, it's America Coco Gauff taking on it's the Russian girl Zabelez. I am going to butcher this name if I even attempt to try and pronounce it. So very excited for Qinwen and this opportunity for her and who is she representing and everything like that. So excited for her. And this is after that her quarterfinal win. She was ranked, I believe, 12th or 15th. She was top 15 in women's tennis. This one for sure puts her into the top 10. So excited for her and for her career, and good luck to her in the semifinals. And let's see if she can advance to the finals. That would be absolutely amazing accomplishment for her to do. So, props to her, and good luck to you. The next thing we're going to dive into is one of the NFL wildcard games that occurred last week, and it was the Miami Dolphins at the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City was the winner of the AFC West, and the Dolphins hit a huge skid the back half of the season, losing 2 of 4 their last 6 games. They were in strong position to win the AFC East until this skid happened. And then they lost the final regular season game versus Buffalo, and now Miami ended up in second place in their division. So because of that, they became the 6th seed, which made them playing the 3rd seed, Kansas City. So in the end, as you guys know, Kansas City won this game, and I believe the score was, what was the score? 26-7. But the reason why I'm bringing this up isn't because, or to really to talk about a NFL wildcard game between two really good teams this past year, to talk about any of the highlights that happened in the game, or just highlighting the Chiefs advancing. No. The reason why I'm bringing this up, and this is a very important topic to talk about that happens in the realm of sporting events in general, and that will be the temperature of this game. The temperature at kickoff, and this game was held in Kansas City, by the way. The temperature at kickoff was -4 degrees Fahrenheit. With the wind chill was -20 degrees Fahrenheit. This marked it as the 4th coldest game in NFL history. By the end of the game, it was -9 degrees Fahrenheit with -28 degree wind chill. Brrr. That's all I have to say about this game. But no, I have a lot more to say about this game. What the players are able to do versus what the fans are able to do. I mean, the players have the ability to run around. They have heaters on the sidelines, heated benches, thick weather, cold-resistant coats, and the ability to go into halftime or during halftime go into the locker rooms to be able to warm up. The fans, on the other hand, have got to embrace the whole entire game throughout. Now, I read that there were some warming stations around the stadium, as well as hot chocolate available for purchase. I'm going to repeat that line. Hot chocolate available for purchase. This was the 4th coldest game in NFL history. Kansas City is a multi-billion-dollar franchise with billion-dollar owners in the Hunt family. I think you can afford to have unlimited hot chocolate or unlimited coffee, or at the very least have stands. I'm glad that you had hot chocolate available for purchase. 4th coldest game, and you have an outdoor stadium. The risks were extremely, extremely high. Now, I get it. Each fan that showed up to the game, that cheered on the Chiefs to victory, they knew the risk. When you buy a ticket to any sporting event, technically that ticket is also a waiver form. You're essentially signing away that if you get injured, the stadium is not responsible. You, on every ticket, just about whether it's online or a physical copy of a ticket, there is some fine print reading on that states any damage or bodily harm done to you, the facility isn't liable. Same thing in this case. So all the fans understood the risks going into this game. I understand that. However, I think the NFL could do a better job. The KCFD, which is the Kansas City Fire Department, had to treat 60 plus fans for things of hypothermia, cold-related things that are related to frigid cold weather. About 15% of those fans had to be hospitalized. Now, again, like I said earlier, the fans knew what they were signing up for. They knew their choices. They made their choices. But the NFL could still do a better job. That same weekend, the game up in Buffalo versus, who did they play against? Pittsburgh. That was delayed 3 games. Now, different weather condition. Buffalo had feet of snow. Feet of snow. You obviously can't play if you can't move. I want to read something to you guys here. And this is the NFL weather policy, okay? This is the NFL weather policy. This is the NFL cold weather game day protocol. When snowy or cold weather is expected ahead of games, a snow removal plan is required for each home club by the NFL. Snow and ice must be removed from stadiums before each game. And this applies to field, stand, seats, aisles, pedestrian ramps, walkways, parking lots, and etc. This also applies to the sidelines, which is what this manual also states as well. The league policy states that if there's any chance of precipitation, fields must be covered with tarps on the day and night before a game. If weather dictates, heated benches must be available to both teams and activated 2 hours prior to kickoff. However, something major too that I want to point out, there's nothing in the protocol that relates to or even remotely alludes to any sort of game cancellation that is tied into how cold it gets. There's nothing in the rules that state if a temperature gets to a certain mark that this game must be postponed or delayed or even canceled. And my specific thoughts on that is kind of BS. Now, I get it. Majority of sporting events are outdoors. Weather is a part of that. Absolutely. I'm not here to disagree with that aspect of sports, but there's some common sense into it. You would see a national weather advisory if a hurricane was coming in. You'd see sirens going off if a tornado was incoming or was developing up in the stratosphere. Honestly, anything below 0 should fall in the same extreme weather conditions as a hurricane, tornado, lightning storm. I mean, you evacuate the field for a lightning storm. I'm sorry, not just the field. You evacuate the stadium if lightning is detected within a certain radius from the game. Everybody is affected by this extreme cold here. Same sort of attention and care should matter in the same instance as extreme cold. It's not like it was 20 degrees or 30 degrees with 20-mile-an-hour winds that make it feel like it's 10 degrees. No, this was -4 air temperature, but adding the windshield was -20 at kickoff. This game was already at nighttime on top of that. So there's no help from the sun. Once again, NFL should look into seeing whether or not they should put in a temperature mark in place. Because it's not just about player safety. It's about the safety of your fans who are the reason the NFL exists to begin with. So those are my thoughts on the weather policy, because there's no way in hell would I just be a normal single game ticket person, want to go to the playoffs, paying thousands of dollars for one person to go and see the game, and it's -4 degrees outside. Okay? Again, not complaining about the cold, but there's a level, there's a degree that it just becomes common sense to do the right thing. Now, I get it. There's many layers that go into that. What if it was polar vortex that lasts days, and it just so happened to be during that weekend. I get it. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and just play through that. But were those options on the table even? Were they thought of? Was it just because, oh, it's just the cold, it's fine, play football? I want to know if those options were on the table or not, or even discussed. Because there was no movement media-wise for any movement of this game. You saw tons of movement for the Buffalo game, but nothing for this one. And this one was, I would say in some instances, more extreme. I'd like to move along to a more happier note, but we're about to talk about the Colts here. And as much as I refrained from having a whole entire podcast devoted to the last regular season game of the Colts and how they just blew their entire season based off of one game, because that's true, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the future for the Colts here, and in particular their schedule for the 2024 season. Yes, we're already talking about the 2024 season even before the AFC and NFC championship games have been played yet. But it's never too early to look ahead, especially when that information is already out there. So, the Colts' home games are against Buffalo, Miami, Chicago, Detroit, and Pittsburgh. Their away games are against Green Bay, Minnesota, New England, the New York Jets, Denver, and the New York Giants. So again, those are the home opponents and the away opponents. There's no scheduled date or when in the season you play those opponents. Those will not be announced until I believe May. May, I think, is when the NFL schedule comes out. It's May or April. It is, I want to say it is after the draft. It is after the draft. Now, I get it. The combined winning percentage is just over 50%, which isn't bad. The Colts have the 11th easiest schedule next year. The 11th easiest. So that doesn't sound pretty bad. But let's take another approach, another look at this, okay? Just to give you a little bit more deeper stats, out of their 17 opponents, 6 have played in the playoffs. 6 out of 17 are playoff teams. Okay. 11 are 7+ win teams. 11 out of 17 have won at least 7 games. That right there is tough. That means majority of your opponents, every single time, there isn't going to be any pushover. There isn't going to be any easy ones. It's going to be a game. It's going to be a battle. To go one step further, 4 of which are 10+ win teams. So you've got some absolute ridiculous. Now, the league as a whole, if you look at all the records, all divisions, all teams did pretty well. I mean, the team with the worst record was the Panthers with 2 wins, but then the Nets' worst was 4, and then it goes to 5 or 6. You know, there weren't a string of 2, 3, 4, win teams. No, it goes up. The average this year was 7 or 8 wins. That's competitive. That's really good as a whole for the brand in NFL, that you didn't really have juggernaut teams or cupcake teams. Everyone is as evenly matched as possible, or the games that you're watching on TV are just that. They're watchable. They're entertaining. But to go more into it, though, our home games, which I'll state again, are against, other than our divisional opponents, by the way, are Buffalo, Miami, Chicago, Detroit, and Pittsburgh. That's 4 playoff teams that you're going to see at home, which is exciting for the fans. Excited to see a pretty good crowd at all of those games. It's a 60% winning percentage that these teams had on average. 60%. Versus on the road, when you play Green Bay, Minnesota, New England, the Jets, Denver, and Giants, I'm wondering if they should make the Giants and the Jets sort of a back-to-back weekend on the road. Might as well, since they both play at the same stadium. I mean, that would be sort of convenient and easy, but that's just my thought. That's my thought. A little bit easier on the road, 48% winning percentage of the average of the road teams that we're going to play this year. This isn't including the division, by the way. So, for me, I wish that was the opposite. I wish you had the easier games at home and the tougher games on the road, because you should always go 8-0 at home or 9-0 at home. It's home field advantage, and it's understandable to maybe struggle on the road. So if you're able to sneak one or pull out a victory on the road, that's an even more positive thing to take back. This year, home games are a lot tougher. Road games are a lot easier. So what that means is that you can't afford to lose a road game because your home games are just so tough. I mean, Buffalo, Miami, Chicago, Detroit, Pittsburgh, none of those are pushovers. Plus, you add in our division opponents, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Houston. I mean, that's a really tough home stretch or home schedule. There's really no guaranteed wins in that. I mean, our easiest opponent is New England. And we play at New England. And you know the Colts' history at New England. They're a 4-win team. That's our easiest game. Our next easiest is Tennessee and the Giants for 6-win teams. Those are our next easiest. And we have always split the season series versus the Titans. And then the last time we played the Giants in New York, it was a thrashing. Giants beat us 38-10, and that was just a year ago in the 2022 season. That's still fresh. There's no gimmies. There's absolutely no gimmies here. At the end of the day, what would my prediction sort of be for the Colts next year? I mean, looking at the schedule, I'd have to go 9-8, which is the same exact record that the Colts ended with this year. You can only hope that the team can improve, and I absolutely think they will. The quarterback position absolutely will develop. All the new players that we had are going to either get a year older, plus the incoming draft class, whoever they may be, added on to the team. It's just tough to get around the schedule. The schedule is the schedule. As good as I think the Colts roster could be, it's tough opponents. Like there's no other way around it. I think the Colts will be competitive. I mean, they beat some teams this year I didn't think they beat, and then they took some losses where I didn't think they'd lose. So there's a little bit of the unpredictability factor with the Colts as well. That should be a given year in and year out with them. But man, it's the winning percentage and the strength of schedule, the 11th easiest. But I just told you the opponents and where the opponents sort of lie, home or away. It's not easy. So you have to take advantage of every away opponent. Every away opponent. And I hope you can squeak out some ones at home. I mean, they didn't do too well at home this year. So much for home field advantage. You should always be plus 500. You should always at least win four or five games at home. Every year, at least 4 or 5 games. So, since familiar opponents, I mean, playing Pittsburgh again. Pittsburgh is actually the only returning team that we play this year, that we're playing again, other than our divisional opponents. Playing the playing the Giants in Minnesota again. We played them the same year 2 years ago. So that'll be interesting. Minnesota, that is going to be hyped up with the fact that that's at Minnesota. It's going to be hyped up that they had the largest NFL comeback versus us just 2 years ago. Still hurts. Interesting enough, we've beaten Green Bay the last 3 times we have played them. So, a little tidbit into that. Some really outstanding defenses looking at it as well. Denver's got a great defense. The Jets have a great defense. Minnesota has a good defense. Green Bay has a good defense. Buffalo has a good defense. I mean, Miami was just decimated by injuries, but on paper, they have a good defense. Detroit, well, we know what Pittsburgh stands for. It's not easy. It is not easy. Definitely a lot of defensive-heavy teams coming in. So, again, 9-8. That's sort of where I can see them, and it could very well go down. I hope, obviously, it goes above that. But 9-8 is where I'm seeing it. Now, I have the right to reserve, or I reserve the right to change my picks because this is ever going to change. You're going to have the draft. You're going to have the schedule release. And then you'll have off-season. You have training camp. Leading up into preseason, you have preseason. I will most likely revisit this multiple times over the next many months until the 2024 season starts. So, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed episode 11. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care.